So there is plenty of mystery surrounding Jasprit Bumrah's availability, and this is what is the crux of our morning wrap from Sports Today. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us, and a very, very good morning to all of our Sports Today family members. So I will first begin with the biggest update that is there around Jasprit Bumrah and his availability. Remember, it's his availability for the Indian cricket team is more like a murder mystery that is happening at this point in time. Why is that? Bumrah was initially ruled out of the series against Sri Lanka. Suddenly, for the ODI series, he was included. He did some tests at the NCA and then he came back and was slated to be fit for the Sri Lanka series. But then what happened? Bumrah complained of stiffness in his back, and that is why now there are reports circulating around that Jasprit Bumrah might not even be available for majority of the Border Gavaskar Trophy also. That is a massive blow, and somewhere down the line the BCCI is veering towards the side of over caution when you have to look at Jasprit Bumrah and his availability for the Border Gavaskar Trophy. Remember, he is out for majority of the Border Gavaskar Trophy, but there are also other reports that state that Bumrah wants to play at least a couple of tests. He wants to be there in the World Test Championship final if India make it. And because BCCI have burned their hands very badly in the past when it comes to rushing back Jasprit Bumrah, they are now adopting a very, very overcautious approach. Rohit Sharma in his press conference yesterday had said that yes, what happened with Jasprit Bumrah was very, very unfortunate. But at the same time, you cannot ignore the fact that you have to preserve Jasprit Bumrah because rushing him could have very dire consequences. Remember what happened in the T20 World Cup just before? He was rushed back for the Australia series and then he was ruled out entirely for the T20 World Cup. And remember, not since September Jasprit Bumrah has played. So rushing him in now without any prior match experience could once again prove to be deadly. So there are various conflicting reports that Jasprit Bumrah might not be available for majority of the Border Gavaskar Trophy also. But however, he might play the 3 ODIs against Australia and he could be there for the IPL in entirety. Whether he plays the entire IPL remains to be seen. Whether the BCCI continues to have a very overcautious approach in trying to protect Jasprit Bumrah from injuries, it remains to be seen. But the situation around Jasprit Bumrah's availability is nothing short of mysterious because suddenly you announce that you pick him for the Sri Lanka ODIs, but then a couple of days before at the NCA where he's doing hard training, he gets injured. He complained of stiffness apparently. Nothing serious, it's just stiffness. The NCA sources have also said that maybe Jasprit Bumrah will have to rest for 3 to 4 weeks in order to restart bowling. And the BCCI is worried about his workload management in that sense. So this is a big blow for Jasprit Bumrah and for India because look, the Border Gavaskar Trophy is potentially your preview to the final that will happen on June 7th at the Oval. So in a way, Jasprit Bumrah's non-availability could be a massive issue for India going forward. But at the same time, India have the depth and maybe perhaps they can ensure that they reach the final. Because look, the equation is simple. If India win 3-1, if Sri Lanka loses to New Zealand 2-0, then India and Australia are in the final of the World Test Championship. South Africa, even if they win 2 against the West Indies, if India wins 3-1, doesn't matter. That is how the situation is. So, lot of mystery around Jasprit Bumrah's fitness at this point in time continues that same problem that we have encountered ever since 2022. Whether he would play for India, whether he would feature in all formats, whether he'll be a long-term option for India, still remains to be seen. So, very, very sad news around Jasprit Bumrah because he may not be available for the entire Border Gavaskar Trophy or he may not be there for 3 out of the 4 tests. There are also concerns in the Australian camp also heading into the Border Gavaskar Trophy. Mitchell Starc has said that he is certain to be ruled out of the first test that will happen. But he is positive that he could be back for the second test. And on top of that, Josh Hazlewood is making a comeback as well. Remember, he missed the first 2 tests against South Africa. He will play all the tests hopefully, but injury notwithstanding, one hopes that Josh Hazlewood manages to last the 4 tests, and Mitchell Starc in particular, his non-availability for the first test is a big blow because You remember that Mitchell Starc, the left arm option, he's often troubled India. He's got a good record in India when it comes to test matches, and so his non-availability for the first test is a big, big blow for Australia. But then who can they call up as an option? Maybe the likes of Michael Neser, maybe the likes of everybody else. Maybe Lance Morris could get a turn on these flat decks, or maybe they'll go with two spinners. That is how we are looking at this current situation at this point in time. So injuries galore for both India and Australia when you come to the Border Gavaskar Trophy. Remember, first week of February, this series begins. And as I had mentioned, a preview to your final that will happen on June 7th, a potential preview. But there is good news for our neighbors across the border, because Pakistan defeated New Zealand by 6 wickets in the first ODI in Karachi. And because of this, they are now second in the ICC ODI World Super League standings. Second position for Pakistan is a very, very good thing, because remember, Pakistan have been on a roll when it comes to ODIs in the last 5 to 6 months. They beat Australia in Pakistan. They have now started their New Zealand journey on a big high. And the only loss that they had in this entire period was against England. So Pakistan are on a roll when it comes to ODIs, and they are building their momentum at the right time. Apart from that, they are potentially hosting the Asia Cup. Whether they host it is another question altogether. But it was a good outing for Pakistan yesterday, with Babar Azam scoring runs, with Mohammad Rizwan scoring runs. Fakhar Zaman was back, and he was also aggressive at the top. So these are good signs for Pakistan that their ODI core seems to be settled at this point in time. Remember, the test series was not up to Pakistan's one. They ended the entire year without a single test win at home. That was how low they had reached. They had lost to England 3-0, they had lost to Australia 1-0, and they drew 0-0 against New Zealand. So it was a big, big blow for Pakistan. But their ODI record, if you have to look at it, has been really, really good. So Pakistan are making big strides in the ODI World Super League at this point in time. And one hopes that they can maintain the momentum, because they have 2 more ODIs now against New Zealand, and then after that, they will slowly build momentum towards the World Cup, which is 9 to 10 months away. Now from cricket, from the Border Gavaskar Trophy, Jasprit Bumrah's availability, Pakistan, we now head into another sport, and it's football that is making all the big news at this point in time. Remember, the likes of Gareth Bale and Hugo Lloris have retired from... Gareth Bale has retired from all forms of football. Remember, he is a 5-time Champions League winner with Real Madrid, and he was currently playing in LAFC. But at this point in time, Gareth Bale decided that he will retire from all forms of active football. At the same time, Hugo Lloris, who is with Tottenham Hotspur at this point, he has retired from international football altogether. At the age of 36, Hugo Lloris may probably have a year or 2 left in club football. But at this point in time, it's very safe to assume that 2 international stars who have contributed a lot for their teams, it's an end of an era for them. So Hugo Lloris and Gareth Bale have retired. And there is plenty of action even in the FA Cup when you have to look at it. Manchester City have been in top form. They absolutely thrashed Chelsea. And it is not good news for the men in blue, because Chelsea, in a way, they are currently undergoing a very inconsistent period of football at this point in time. And the FA Cup action will heat up a lot more, because in the next round, Manchester City will square off against Arsenal. And remember, Arsenal are in superb form. They have got a very healthy lead in the Premier League. And on top of that, they registered a win in their previous round of the FA Cup. So Manchester City versus Arsenal in the FA Cup will be a big, big match to look out for. Apart from that, in the world of other sports, when you have to look at India, we are all gearing up for the Hockey World Cup that will begin from 13th in Rourkela and Bhubaneswar. India will be aiming to end 48 years of pain, but they are in a relatively tricky group, because remember, Spain has run India very, very close, and they will be hoping that Spain, if they overcome Spain and finish on top of the group, they'll be in a good position heading into the quarterfinals. Because remember, the format is simple. Top 4 from each group, the first place team from each group will go directly into the quarterfinals. Number 2 and number 3 will play in the crossovers, and the winner of that will reach the quarterfinals. That is how the format is at this point in time. Now, when we look at badminton and the Malaysia Open, not good news if you are Kidambi Srikanth, because he has crashed out in the opening round, and that is a very, very sad news for a lot of Indian badminton fans, because 2023 seems to be a lot of promise for India shuttlers, and looking at how they ended 2022, this is a kind of a dampener. But we are just 10 days into 2023. There is a lot of badminton action that is there. Remember, World Championship is going to be at this time. There's going to be the Asian Games where India will be expected to do well. We are all gearing up for Paris 2024, and the Asian Games is a massive step in that. So India's badminton shuttlers, the shuttlers have not gotten off to a great start in 2023, but there is still a lot of time left. So today we are going to focus on India versus Sri Lanka, the first ODI that will happen at Barsapara, and India will be hoping to continue the good run that they've had. Remember, they have not been beaten for a very long time at home. The last home series loss that they had in ODIs was in 2019 against Australia, just before the World Cup. They lost 2-3 there. So India will be aiming to continue the dominance, and one hopes that Sri Lanka can put up a good show as they did in the first two T20As. Remember, had they won the Wankhede ODI and they had won in Pune, they could have been a 2-1 series victors, not India. Suryakumar Yadav and Ishan Kishan, their spots in the ODI team, that continues to be a jumble at this point in time. So it's going to be a very action-packed morning and action-packed 10th of January. I will be back with a separate Bumrah explainer as to what is it about Jasprit Bumrah's availability. I'll be back with that also. So subscribe to Sports Today for all the latest news and analysis. Press the like, comment and share button, and don't forget to download the SportsTak mobile app, and also check out their English and Hindi websites as well. Thank you.